My name is Janelle Carter, born 4 minutes after my twin sister, Danica Carter. Though everyone swore it felt like we'd arrived in reverse. Danica came out kicking, loud, strong, and full of demand. I came out quiet, small, almost fragile enough that the nurses hovered over me like I might disappear. Asterisk. I share new life stories here every day, and I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now let's jump back into my story. I sure you'll love it. If you keep listening till the end, asterisk, and tell me from which part of the world you are watching this story, I am interested to know how far away this story traveled. Growing up in our small Atlanta neighborhood, people loved reminding us how opposite we were. Danica was bold, athletic, the kind of girl who shoved boys into fences if they teased her friends. I was gentle, bookish, the girl who apologized even when I wasn't sure what I'd done wrong. Folks would say, God balanced y'all out, as if one strong spirit and one soft one was the only way twin girls could exist. But being this strong, one did something to Danica's mind. She didn't just protect, she expected the world to bend around her. She wasn't cruel, but she was dominant, confident, loud enough to drown out any voice that didn't match her fire. I never blamed her for who she was. But sometimes I wished she saw that strength shouldn't mean overshadowing everyone else. By the time we turned 26, life had taken us down two very different roads. Danica worked as a fitness instructor, loud music, tight schedules, people who worshipped her for her energy. She lived in bright colors and confidence, wearing her strength like a badge. Me. I married a man named Calvin Ross, someone my quiet heart believed would keep me safe. I mistook his soft smile and low voice for gentleness. I mistook his silence for peace. I didn't know silence can be the first language of danger at first. Calvin treated me like I was fragile china, the good kind, the kind you keep locked up for special days. But soon, that carefulness turned into control. That control turned into criticism. And that criticism turned into something darker, something that bruised both skin and spirit. I hid the marks as well as I could. Long sleeves, makeup, excuses. A limp turned into just a fall. A swollen lip became just an accident. But secrets grow heavier with every lie. And my body was beginning to betray me. It was a Wednesday evening when everything finally cracked. Danica showed up at my apartment unannounced, sweaty from her gym, still in her athletic gear, and carrying a bag of groceries she insisted I needed. She barged in like she always did. Her laugh filled every corner of the room until she saw me. The groceries slipped from her hands. Janelle, what happened to your face? I froze. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she stepped closer. Her fingers trembled when they touched my cheek, brushing over the fading bruise I hadn't covered well enough. Who did this? Her voice dropped low, sharp, dangerous. The kind of tone that made the air stand still. I don't want to talk a boo. Janelle, her voice broke. Tell me. Tears slid down before I could stop them. My body shook, not from fear of Calvin, but from the weight of finally being seen. When I whispered his name, Calvin, something shifted behind Danica's eyes. She wasn't just angry, she was enraged, not the loud, explosive kind she used to aim at bullies on the playground. This was colder, sharper, calculated. She took my hands, squeezed tight, and said only 3 words. We're switching places. Asterisk. Danica didn't wait for me to respond. She marched straight into my bedroom like she owned the place, threw open my closet, and started pulling out clothes, my soft sweaters, my jeans. The brown cardigan Calvin always said made me look too old. She tossed everything onto the bed in a wild pile. What are you doing? I whispered, still wiping tears off my cheeks. We're switching places. She repeated, her voice firm but frighteningly calm. You look like me. I look like you. We've been confusing folks since kindergarten. Calvin won't know until it's too late. We can't. My voice cracked. He's dangerous. She turned. And I'm not. I swallowed. She had a point. Danica had always been the type to stand toe-to-toe with men twice her size. She'd broken a boy's nose in ninth grade for shoving me. She'd once chased off a stranger who grabbed a girl outside a club. She wasn't afraid of anything, and sometimes that scared me too. But Calvin? Calvin wasn't like the boys from school or the drunk guy at the club. Calvin had a coldness to him, a patience. He hurt with a quietness that made his violence feel calculated. Danica, I don't want him to hurt you. Her jaw tightened. He won't. But even if he tried, I'd love for him to try me. I felt a strange mix of terror and relief. Relief that someone finally believed me. Terror at what she planned to do with that belief. She sat me down on the bed and began fixing my hair. She tugged it into a style that mirrored hers, high puff, edges sharp. Then she handed me her gym hoodie and black leggings, her daily uniform. "You're going to my place," she said. "My neighbor, Mrs. Cherry, has a spare key. You tell her you locked yourself out. She loves us both so much she won't question which twin she's seeing. But what about you?" She paused, her hands on my shoulders. "I'm going to meet your husband." My breath stopped in my throat. No. She squeezed my shoulders. "This ends today. Please don't get yourself hurt." She looked at me, and in that moment, all the fire in her face softened. I saw my big sister not by minutes, but by heart. "I'm doing this because you're my other half," she whispered. "And nobody gets to break my half. Nobody." I started crying again, but this time the tears felt different. They weren't helpless. They were relief, anger, and something like hope mixing together in a storm I didn't know could exist. We stood in front of my bathroom mirror. Same skin tone, same eyes, same lips, same jawline. She pulled on my loose sweater and jeans, then applied a little makeup to give herself the tired, worn look I had grown used to seeing in the mirror. The transformation was unsettling. She looked like me, the me I hated seeing. Her expression hardened. "Now," she said, "what time does he get home?" I swallowed. "Around 7. He likes his dinner hot." Danica's eyes flashed. "Good. I'll make sure he gets something hot." I didn't ask what she meant. Maybe I didn't want to know. We hugged long, tight, trembling. A hug that felt like a promise and a prayer all at once. Then Danica took my keys, and I walked out wearing her clothes. Her confidence, her life. While she stepped into mine, into the danger I barely survived. Danica arrived at my apartment door, our apartment door now that we were switched at. Exactly 6:47 p.m. She checked her reflection in the dark window, making sure she still looked like me. Shoulders slightly slumped. Eyes a little downcast. Lips pressed together like she was trying not to talk too loud. She hated playing small. But tonight, she would wear my softness like armor. The key clicked jot. She stepped inside. The apartment looked exactly the same as when I left it hours earlier, quiet. Dim, clean, in that controlled way Calvin liked. Shoes lined up perfectly. Coasters aligned on the table. No warmth, no chaos, no personality. The kind of place where noise felt like a crime. Danica inhaled deeply. "All right, Janelle," she muttered. "I got you." She moved into the kitchen just as the front door opened. Calvin told his footsteps were slow. Measured. The sound that had always turned my stomach into ice. Danica stood still. She didn't turn around. She waited. "Janelle," he called out in his usual calm voice. The voice strangers always said sounded so gentle. "Why isn't dinner on?" Danica smirked. "Here we go." She turned. Calvin's eyes narrowed as he scanned me. He didn't see the difference. He didn't see the strength simmering behind her eyes. All he saw was the wife he controlled. "You're late," Danica said softly, matching my tone perfectly. His jaw twitched. "Watch how you speak to me." She stepped closer, not backing down. "Why? You afraid someone might talk back?" His brows furrowed. This wasn't the response he expected. Danica could practically see his brain scrambling to figure out what was different. "I don't know what's gotten into you," he said, "but you need to get yourself together." She tilted her head. "Do I?" The room fell still. That was the moment Calvin sensed something was wrong. His fingers flexed the way they always did right before he got violent. Danica saw it, recognized the signal, and positioned her stance feet apart. Weight, evenly balanced. She wasn't me. Not today, not ever again. Calvin stepped forward. Don't test me. Danica stepped forward too. Then don't put your hands on me. That stopped him cold. For the first time, someone said it to him with no fear. Janelle, he growled. I don't know what kind of mood you're in. You're right. You don't. Her voice deepened. Her posture straightened. Matter of fact, you don't know a damn thing about me. He blinked. Confusion flickered. What, you think I'm scared of you? Her voice sharpened. You think because you're quiet when you hurt me, that it makes you powerful. Calvin's face went blank, the way it always did right before the storm. But Danica smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. Calvin took another step, his hand lifting, not yet striking. Just reaching, that was enough. Danica grabbed his wrist midair. Her grip was steel. Calvin froze, shocked. What the? Let me go. See, that's the thing, she said softly, leaning in close. You're only brave when someone's too weak to fight back. She twisted his wrist, just enough for pain, not enough for injury. Calvin's knees buckled as he gasped. And I ain't weak. The fear in his eyes bloomed fast, too fast. He yanked away, stumbling back. What is wrong with you? Danica straightened, her voice calm again. Everything you did to Janelle, it's done. Calvin stared, trying to understand, trying to figure out how the woman who never fought back suddenly felt like a storm he couldn't contain. What happened to you? He whispered. Dan, aka smirked again. Your worst nightmare happened. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed. My phone. She glanced at the screen. It was me. One-word message. Safe. Danica's heart tightened. She looked up at Calvin with eyes that no longer pretended softness. Oh yeah, she whispered. Very safe. Asterisk the moment my message lit up the screen. Danica felt something settle inside her purpose, steady and unshakable. She slid the phone back into my pocket and stared at Calvin, who was still rubbing his wrist like he couldn't believe what had just happened. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. That scared look on his face. Danica wished I had seen it years ago. Maybe then I would have believed I wasn't powerless. Janelle, he finally muttered, you're acting strange. Did you take something? Are you... Stop. Danica raised a hand. Stop talking to me like I'm broken. His eyes flickered. That line hit him hard because it was exactly what he counted on me feeling broken so he could feel whole. I don't know what you think is going to come from this. Attitude, Calvin said, collecting himself. But you need to understand your position in this marriage. Danica laughed a sharp sound that made Calvin flinch. Your position, she repeated. Funny how men like you always think you're the only one with a position. He stiffened. You're disrespecting me. No, she corrected, stepping closer. I'm showing you what respect looks like when you stop earning it. Calvin swallowed hard. His fear was turning into anger again, the kind of anger that had always been the beginning of my bruises. But Danica didn't move. She stood tall, unbothered. Kay almost enjoying the fact that he didn't know what to do with her. You're not my Janelle, he whispered suddenly. The words hung in the air like a blade. Danica raised an eyebrow. Oh, and who do you think I am? He stared at her face, at the confidence in her eyes, at the strength in her posture, and doubt twisted through his expression. I don't know, he finally muttered, but my wife doesn't talk to me like this. Danica leaned against the counter, crossing her arms. Maybe she should have. Calvin took a step back. His breathing grew uneven. Danica could see him unraveling the same man who always controlled every word, every step, every room. Suddenly looked small. She tilted her head. Tell me something, Calvin. Why do you hurt women who can't hurt you back? His jaw clenched. I never don't lie, she cut in sharply. Her voice sliced through the apartment. Even the walls seemed to echo with the truth. Janelle hides bruises, she said quietly. Bruises she didn't give herself. Calvin's whole body went stiff. That was the first time anyone had ever confronted him. The first time the truth was spoken out loud. I didn't. She exaggerates sometimes. He stuttered. Danica stared hard. Look at me. He met her eyes. Say it without shaking, she said. He opened his mouth, but the tremble in his lips betrayed him. He swallowed, looked away, then whispered, Sometimes I lose control. Danica stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a chilling whisper. Then I'm here to help you find it. Calvin backed up until he hit the wall. His breathing quickened. You're not Janelle, he repeated, quieter this time. Danica smiled, a slow, controlled smile that didn't reach her eyes. No, she said. But she's safe now. Eyes widened. And I'm here in her place. Silence stretched. Calvin blinked slowly, fear creeping up his spine. Who are you? He asked. Dina leaned in so close he could feel her breath. I'm the twin you never wanted to meet. Just then her phone buzzed again. A second message from me. Where are you? I'm scared. Danica stepped back. The fire returned to her expression. Good, she muttered. Because it's time he understands fear. Calvin's face drained of color the moment Danica read my second message. He could sense the shift in her energy, the kind that said she wasn't just angry. She had a plan. Who are you texting? He demanded, taking a shaky step forward. Danica held the phone behind her back. Someone who actually cares what happens to me. That better not be who I think it is, he muttered. Danica smirked. Oh, it's definitely not who you think it is. Because you think everything revolves around you. Calvin's nostrils flared. Give me the phone. No, she said flatly. He froze, shocked at the sheer simplicity of her refusal. I had never told him no like that. Clear, unapologetic, immovable Janelle. He snapped, voice tightening. You need to stop playing games. Danica stepped closer, chin lifted. I'm not Janelle. Well, the words hit him like a slap. She watched the confusion flood his face. Watched him search her eyes like he was looking for the woman he'd broken. But all he found was the reflection of his own fear. I knew it, he breathed. I knew something was wrong with you tonight. Nothing wrong, Danica replied calmly. You're just finally facing someone who won't fold. This is crazy, he muttered, backing up again. Where is my wife? Safe, Danica said, and far away from you. Eyes narrowed. You tell me where she is, or what? Danica challenged. You gonna put your hands on me too? He stiffened, shame coloring his face for half a second before anger smothered it. You're trying to set me up, he said. You're both trying to ruin my life. Danica laughed, a short, humorless sound. Ruin your life? Calvin, you did that all by yourself. He lunged forward suddenly. Reaching for her arm, Danica moved like lightning. She grabbed his wrist, twisted, and planted him onto the couch cushions so fast he didn't even catch his breath before he was pinned. Get off me. He shouted. No, she said, leaning over him, calm as ever. You want to know what it feels like to be powerless? To be held down and scared? Congratulations. Welcome to the experience you gave my sister. Calvin froze beneath her. For the first time, he looked truly afraid, not of consequences, but of her. Of the strength he never imagined she had. You don't get to touch her again, Danica whispered. You don't get to raise your voice at her again. You don't get to breathe on her again. He swallowed hard. You can't do this. This is illegal. So is beating your wife, she cut in. So is isolating her. So is controlling her. Calvin opened his mouth, but no words came out. Danica stood up slowly, watching him as he sat hunched, shaking. She checked my message again. Where are you? I'm scared. Her chest tightened. Pathetic, she muttered at Calvin. She's afraid of you even when she's not here. Calvin looked up. Where is Janelle? You'll never find her, Danica said, because she's done being your victim. He stood abruptly, pointing a trembling finger. "If you think you can break up my marriage, oh, it's already broken," she said. "You shattered it the first time you put your hands on her." Silence. Then, without warning, Calvin grabbed his jacket and stormed toward the door. Danica froze. "He's going after me in one instant." Instinct took over. She bolted across the room, blocking the doorway. "You're not leaving this apartment," she said through clenched teeth. Calvin glared at her, hatred simmering beneath fear. "Move!" Danica planted her feet. "No." And that's when the front door handle twisted from the outside. Someone else was coming in. Asterisk. The door handle twisted again. Danica didn't move from where she stood, blocking Calvin's escape. Her whole body tightened like a coiled spring. Calvin's eyes darted from the door to her, torn between fear and rage. Then the door cracked open. A familiar voice called softly, "Janelle, baby, you home." Danica exhaled in relief and disbelief. It was Mrs. Cherry, the elderly neighbor from next door, sweet, nosy, half-blind, and always carrying a plastic container of cornbread, like an extension of her arm. She peered inside just enough to see Danica's face. "Oh, baby, you left your lights on earlier. Thought I'd bring you some dinner. You look a little pale, sugar." Before Danica could respond, Mrs. Cherry's gaze shifted and landed on Calvin. Her smile evaporated. "What's he doing here?" she asked, her voice sharper than anyone would expect from her small frame. Calvin stepped back like he'd been caught stealing. "Ma'am, this is my home." Mrs. Cherry raised an eyebrow. "And I'm the Queen of England." "Move aside." Danica almost laughed. Almost, Calvin scowled. "This is a private matter." "Everything becomes public when a man forgets how to act," she snapped. Then her eyes narrowed. "Why's your wife wearing that look?" Danica blinked. "What look?" "That look I've seen 3 times before," Mrs. Cherry said, folding her arms. "On 3 different women who needed a place to hide." Silence rolled through the room. Calvin clenched his fists. "I don't know what you think is happening." "Oh, I know exactly what's happening." Mrs. Cherry's voice dropped low. "And if you call yourself raising a hand in this building again, half the women here are going to come down this hallway with rolling pins and frying pans." Danica stepped aside so Mrs. Cherry could enter fully. Calvin took another step back, cornered now between 2 women who weren't afraid of him. One strong in body, the other strong in truth. Mrs. Cherry set down her cornbread, then looked Danica dead in the eyes. "Where's your sister?" Danica barely breathed. "How did you know?" "Honey," Mrs. Cherry said gently, "I've been watching y'all since you were knee-high. You stand like Danica, but you talk like Janelle. And your sister. She ain't got bruises on her soul." Danica swallowed. "She's safe." "Good," Mrs. Cherry murmured. Calvin stepped forward. "Both of you need to mind your business." Mrs. Cherry turned slowly. "Son, if you don't sit your behind down before I call every neighbor on this floor, you've got to learn what community looks like real quick." Calvin's jaw flexed, but he sat. Something inside him finally broke. Maybe fear? Maybe the realization that he wasn't untouchable. Maybe the first flicker of consequence. Danica pulled out her phone and dialed. "Who are you calling?" Calvin demanded. She didn't answer. She lifted the phone to her ear. A voice answered, 911, "What's your emergency?" Calvin shot to his feet. No, you can't." Danica held up a hand. "Sit down." He dropped back into the chair. Her voice was steady, calm, almost frighteningly controlled. "Yes," Ski told the operator. "I need to report domestic abuse." "Yes, the victim is safe. The abuser is here." Calvin's breath caught. "My sister will never come back to this man." Danica finished. Mrs. Cherry put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Sirens were already faint in the distance. Calvin stared at Danica. The woman he thought was weak, who wasn't even the sister he hurt, realizing, for the first time, that his reign of control was over. And when the police knocked on the door, Danica stepped aside. "Come in," she said. Her last words to Calvin were quiet. "Steady, you'll never touch Janelle again." And that was the end of his power, the end of his control, the end of our nightmare, the beginning of our freedom. Asterisk. Thanks for watching till end. Please like and subscribe my channel. I will be very thankful to you. Sometimes life takes turns we never expect. Every person in this story carried their own pain, their own choices, and their own consequences. Maybe you saw yourself in one of them more. Maybe it reminded you of someone you once knew. What do you think happened next? What would you have done if you were in their place? If you have any questions about what happened to the other characters, or if you want me to share more about them, just comment below. I read every message you leave, and your thoughts truly mean a lot to me. And if this story touched your heart, inspired you, or even made you think differently, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me keep sharing stories that move people, open minds, and remind us we're all human. At the end of the day, your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for watching, for feeling, and for being part of this journey. More powerful stories are coming soon. Stay tuned and stay kind.